Ewood Park this morning. Good morning, Peter. You were at the game last night. Just explain the mood at Ewood Park for us, please.
Yeah, good morning, Kirsty. It's a horrible, miserable old day in Blackburn today, and I suspect that reflects the mood of their supporters. Just to give you an idea, this is the local paper, the Lancashire Telegraph, with that very, very simple and blunt headline, "The End," bracket surely with a question mark, really summing up the frustration, I think, and the anger felt by a lot of supporters here last night. It was probably the most poisonous atmosphere I've ever experienced at a football match. From the outset, cries of Kean out, echoing around this famous old stadium. Supporters obviously really unhappy at the way their team went 2-0 down, and it just became one of those horrible nights, and frustration boiling over at the end. 500 or 600 supporters out at the front of the stadium protesting against the Venkies and against Steve Kean. Mounted police having to be called to try and keep the situation under some sort of control. So a really horrible night, and this is what some of the supporters had to say to us.
Any other club would have sacked him by now, but not 3-4 weeks ago we were giving him a new contract. That is just unbelievable in itself, especially giving a new contract when we was in the relegation zone. How?
Get him out, bring in someone of experience who knows what they're doing at this level. Who would you bring in? Steve Bruce, I'd be quite happy with. Quite did a good job.
Bruce or Mark Hughes back.
Mark Hughes.
Get him out now.
Yeah, we heard from the fans there. Very difficult times for Blackburn, Peter, and for Steve Kean in particular. Are we expecting anything to happen at the club today?
Confusing situation about that, to be honest, Kirsty, because last night in his press conference, Steve Kean denied there was any sort of board meeting planned today. There was a suggestion that maybe by video link that there would be some communication, but the family back in India are understood to have watched the game last night live on television, and I would have thought today there'll be at least a phone call between them and Steve Kean. He spoke to them before the game, but clearly having watched the game and seen the reaction, such a contrast in emotions with Owen Coyle and his chairman celebrating and really enjoying the moment, and then of course by contrast you get Steve Kean just isolated and just looking so helpless really.
And whatever the future holds for Steve Kean, what does history suggest about whether Blackburn can avoid relegation?
Well, the rock bottom now with 10 points, and in the history of the Premier League there's only one other side, that's West Bromwich Albion, who've been bottom of the Premier League at Christmas and then gone on to survive the dreaded drop come May. So that's what Blackburn Rovers are fighting against at the moment. You simply do not want to be in the basement spot at Christmas. It just doesn't augur well for the future. You have to look at their next games, and of course everybody will look at the trips to Anfield and Old Trafford over Christmas and think, well, based on recent results, I think it's 5 defeats in 7 now. I mean, what hope have they of picking up results there if they've lost against West Brom and lost against Bolton at home? And I think the big danger is that if they were to lose those 2 games, there's a possibility of a gap developing, Blackburn being marooned at the bottom of the league come the new year, and that again will make the Venkies think long and hard about whether they should stick with Steve Kean.
OK, Peter, thanks very much indeed. For now, we'll be back with you very shortly.